This episode of Chicago's Bravest Stories is brought to you by Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy. Corey, you want to add to that?
Oh, I could.
You can.
That's how you start off. You say one sentence. That's how you start off. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep that. That's All right, now I know.
All right, that was thanks for tuning in. That was brought to you by Sports
she's
and
great.
Ortho.
Visit the website. Google it. I don't know.
All right, take two. This episode of Chicago's Bravest Stories is brought to you by Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy. Today with us is Dahlia Fahmy from Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, Dahlia.
Hi.
So I was looking over. You guys have some cool stuff you're working with over there. What kind of equipment do you guys use at Sports and Ortho that's different than the other places?
Well, I figured if I'm going to rehab some firefighters and police officers, we better have things that they use. So we actually have drag dummies. We've got stretchers. I've got my own fire engine on the south side. We've got some ladders and some hoses and a couple of punching bags.
Yeah. So, you hear that, Vince? They've even got a couple Steve over there. Oh, I can't say his last name. They've even got a couple Steves over there.
We got a couple Steves.
And looking over, like your staff over there is trained incredibly.
Yeah, we really, really highly train our staff to know how the body moves in motion. So we just, spend a lot of money training them, making sure that they're well trained to take care of all the patients that we have, but especially those fire and police officers that we treat.
Well, Dahlia, I know that you guys have been around for 17 years, and we talked that you got your start with your first actual patient was a Chicago fireman.
Yeah.
We want to let everybody know that if you come to Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy, it is covered by our city program for rehabilitation.
Absolutely. Yep. We'd love to have everybody come see us.
Awesome. Dahlia, you guys have 7 locations. Where can people find you guys at?
Well, they can look us up at sportsandortho.net. All our locations are listed there. That's probably the best way to find us.
Go check out Dahlia over there. Sportsandortho.net.
Engine 1, Engine 4, Truck 2, Truck 10. Ambulance 82, Battalion 2. Fire 1020 North Main. Help is on the way.
So welcome to Chicago's Bravest Stories. We are going to pick up where we left off, hypothetically speaking, with the Brian Woznicki episode. This is going to be the back half of where we left you hanging from part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Corey's going to run the show here.
Possibly
but
part 3, first part 3?
First
ever part 3?
This might be, let's make it part 3.
And very likely part 4.
This is going to go to part 4, without a doubt.
And again, guys, please be sure to visit our website. Check our merchandise on there. It's real important to keep our operation going. To visit the website, to get on whatever platform you guys are listening to, and like and subscribe and leave a review, even if you hate Vince specifically. That's fine. I would understand. But
you know what?
Again, it's very
visit
important.
it just out of spite.
Yeah. Or me. I guess there might be people that might not like me.
No, impossible.
So yeah. Again, we'll thank you very much for listening. And Brian, after you, please, sir.
Well, let's reintroduce who we have here. Back, we got the same crew back.
Yep.
So go ahead and introduce these guys. Or you know what, Brian, go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll go down the line here.
Brian Woznicki again. Just wanted to take the opportunity to finish up this story. I'm a firefighter with Engine 117 in the 18th Battalion. Before that, I did some suburban time fighting fire in Lincolnwood, and then military before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we also have the esteemed Mr. Daniel Trader.
Good evening.
How does Fucking Jocko do his
That's
thing.
what he does.
Is that what he
Yeah,
does? Is
yeah.
that, we've got Bravo Alfredo over here.
Hello.
Al also back again, Lieutenant from Buffalo Grove. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming back. We're gonna try and steer the topic so that we're not going too far off topic, especially me. But through some clever editing, a lot of my nonsense got taken out. So jumping right back into it, Bri. Can we talk about? I guess maybe it'd be nice to just start off like why you decided to even do this podcast with us.
Yeah,
which
it
we're
was,
super
because
grateful about.
you reached out to us. You had been listening to the podcast, and this was something you wanted to do. And I know we didn't talk about the why.
Yeah,
So
I was kind of laughing about that after I listened to the first two episodes. I couple parts here and there I threw reasons in, but I never really started off with explaining why. Number one is for my kids. I want them to know most of the stories, all the stories. Try and get all of them out. When I was a kid, I always envied I know I talked about my uncle and everything, the Vietnam veteran. I have a fairly significant military history in my family. I got an uncle that was a POW in Vietnam, an uncle that was wounded in Vietnam. I got 3 grandpas. One was a Marine that I didn't even know that he was a Marine in World War II. My grandpa on my mom's side was a Navy veteran from Okinawa in World War II. And I just found out like 2 or 3 Thanksgivings ago, my grandpa on my dad's side, I knew he was a D-Day and Omaha Beach survivor. I thought he was wounded at D-Day, and then went home. I just found out like 2 or 3 Thanksgivings ago that he was wounded, stayed in the entire Europe campaign. I don't know any of these stories, and it always upset me. And now none of them are around to get the stories, so I don't want that to happen for my kids. So that's absolutely the number one reason. Number one reason why. We also we talked a little bit about some of the hard stuff about Fallujah, about Dave and Tom after Fallujah and everything like that. For some reason, now I struggled in some of these stories, and that's kind of expected. I knew that was going to happen. I'm going to struggle here today too, but overall, it's kind of strange. I actually handle this stuff pretty well, and there's no way to kind of explain this. And I feel like recently, within the past, I don't know, damn, it's about a couple of years, like the veteran suicides have gone up like crazy. So I figured maybe somebody will be listening, and maybe something helps somebody. If not, okay. If it does, fantastic. Then the whole thing's worth it. So I that's the side reason. I'll be selfish. The main reason is for me, for my kids and my grandkids to know the stories, and to talk about the guys that should be talked about. I can't sit here and explain all the guys that I know that were killed, and it kills me because they all deserve it. But I couldn't tell you the actual number. It's probably somewhere in the 40s at this point since I started up until now after I got out. But I want their names out. So those are the main 3 reasons. But really, just get these guys' names out, tell the other guys' stories that can't be told, and then
it was just the anniversary of
a couple of them, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
January 3rd was one.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And then Eden Pearls, his day just I don't even remember, to be honest with you. His day just passed due. It was right after recording, and I just kind of like, oh wow, that kind of hit me like a baseball bat in the morning. Like, oh wow, we were just talking about this.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And Tom's always sucks. Tom's always tough. The group, the old platoon text message fires up twice a year. And yeah, it's brutal. Yeah.
Thank God there's no.
Yeah.
Thank God there's no
request
on that thing.
Now it fires up 3 times a year, but we'll get to that. But yeah, so it's. At the same time, though, I mean, as hard as it is to talk about some of these guys, they deserve to be talked about, So those are the reasons, and I feel like I should have started episode 1 with that, but we just dove right into it. So
well, and it's I don't know what your expectations were coming in here, or even what mine were.
I was terrified,
but
yeah,
I don't know that it seems weird because once you get on this thing, it definitely seems to take. Once we start BS around, it's kind of like hanging out at the bar. Like you start,
absolutely.
Like I always am amazed by how close I am with. Again, I saw you a handful of times before this, and I'm like, you're my buddy Brian now. It's weird. It's
when you guys came in here and we poured a glass of whiskey together, it's like everybody's sitting in the same seats as we were last. it legitimately feels like we're just picking up where we left off a couple weeks ago.
I'm
right?
actually wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was going to be edited together.
Yeah. The same. We're
just starting
the
off sober.
same not underwear right now.
We're just starting off sober again.
Just to add, kind of piggyback on that for me, all of my relationships with guys that I serve with is like that.
Yeah.
That we'll sit down after 10 years and bust balls about the same dumb shit I did.
Yeah.
Remember when you did that stupid thing? Really?
Right. Right. I've had 3 children since then, man.
Like I was sharing before we got started, sounds kind of weird talking about the guy I can't talk about again, but my buddy, like we randomly call each other. We were talking. I told him about what I did. I sent it to him, and he was telling me how awesome it was and how he was thinking about doing that when he gets out. So I mean, this is a pretty special experience. As completely uncomfortable as it was, and when he told me it was out, like I told you, I was literally sick to my stomach. I had to go downstairs. I'm like, oh God, what did I do? I wanted to record this for like I want my son and daughter to see this when they're like 40, not for like everybody else.
You're just letting everybody else listen to what you're recording for your family.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. That's all.
And not to distract from any of that either, but like I know we've talked about too. We had I don't know if for those of people that may have listened before, Tracy Kenny was big. Yeah. Tracy Kenny and
Chief Tracy Kenny.
Correct. Like this is silly as the stigma is around not. Like not giving respect to mental wellness. Like this is something where, especially like our dads, like this is how our dads dealt with problems. Like they went to the pub, they talked it out, and it really helped them out mentally. And like this is something where, again, I'm not sure if it felt good or if it felt bad or whatever after the.
It felt great until it came out. Until everyone else was.
Yeah.
Well, then you went through the process again. You were nervous.
Absolutely.
Then you listened to it. You started.
I'm nervous now. We're starting up again, and I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I'll take my shirt off. I hope you feel way more confident going into this thing.
If you took your pants off, you'd feel way more confident about.
But you can't see below the table.
That's why I sit in the high chair.
That's why we got the camera. All right, so yeah.
Get into it,
again,
Corey.
Brian,
Where are we at?
Well, let's pick up. You had a vast array of missions that you were dealing with, raids, observation, raiding.
Where did we leave off chronologically on the last one?
I was laughing about that. So we finished up in, I think it was in the Fallujah area, and then
fast track
a long
through your
night,
city
and then
career.
we just jumped over like 15 years.
Yeah, fast track through your actual job that you currently own.
So I wanted to kind of cover what kind of missions we did, and then some definitely we're going to talk about some of my struggles with mental health. Yeah. And so that's going to be tough. So you have to bear with me on that one. Just because the reason I want to go over the missions is 2 reasons really. Just again to explain to my children what I did, but the same thing is I felt a little bit, and I think I'll get critiqued for this. Kind of selling like the lovable loser story. Like I told of like when guys were killed and guys were wounded. Well, we did absolutely fantastic while we were there. Like 98% success rate. We were completely successful while we were there. So I want to talk about some of the missions we did. The main mission we had was the raid, and we've covered that pretty well. Besides the Fallujah mission, moved to high value targets, and when we would have the intel, we would go find them, or we would find intel and do our own types of raids.
And so just for like to bring people back to where they are, like this point in the mission where this is your second tour, right? And
Yes.
Chronologically, what year you think you put at?
This is 2004 and 5.
Okay, all right. So back at it, you're still with your
Fourth platoon.
Post
4th platoon, 2nd Force Recon.
Okay.
Still majority of the guys you've been with for the first tour and the second tour?
No, new guys in the second tour.
New guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're I mean, I don't want to say a veteran, but you're,
I was.
You've
Yeah.
got the time.
It was
You're
weird.
the
I
senior
was,
guy almost, right?
No, that's the funny thing was in the Marine Corps, I was a PF private first class and a lance corporal in the first deployment, and then we come back, and now I'm getting ready to cycle into like the non-commissioned officer, the corporal and sergeant role, and I left. I went to Recon, and then you're back to nobody. So now I'm the corporal in Recon, but a corporal in Recon is like a private in the infantry. So I skipped that leadership role and I went back to the junior guy again. This happens a lot to me throughout the rest of my life. Trust me. So it's definitely different. I didn't have that leadership. I mean, every Marine has leadership.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But I didn't have that team leader. I never had a team leader billet or anything like that. So it was definitely a different experience.
Dynamic.
Leaving the unit.
Did you get new guys in the middle of being there?
It's funny that you asked that because that's something I'm actually going to talk about.
Okay.
Yes, not the first time.
Right.
The second deployment, we had to. I don't know the actual number, but we had well more Purple Hearts for the platoon than we had members in the platoon. I had, on the second deployment, I had 2, Jimmy had 2, Frank had 3. Frank always gave me a hard time because it took me 2 deployments to get 3, and he took him 1 deployment. I'm like, that's not a good thing.
He's busting your balls about the purple.
And then I think Shep might have had 1 or 2. I think there may be 1 or 2 guys that didn't get 1 in the whole platoon. I think we sent home 5 guys, and then we actually had, I don't want to call them replacements, but come before January 3rd, before the Tom Hauser raid, we had replacements that, now that I think it was probably their first combat experience with the unit. My roommate Scott was one of the newer guys. Which is kind of funny because the last night before we deployed, we had a barracks party where we were like burning mattresses and anarchy symbols on top of the barracks and stuff. And he had a crossbow. We were shooting the crossbow at birds flying. And I dry fired it and I screwed up his whole crossbow. The whole thing blew up. So I
standard issue military crossbow.
I put a note. I put it on his bed with a note saying, "Sorry, going to Iraq. Fix it later." I think I left like $60 or something, whatever I had on it. I threw it at the bed. Wade comes walking to the tent a few months later, like, "Hey, buddy, sorry about your crossbow."
That took care of it, right?
Yeah.
The 60?
He goes, "Yeah, it was like a $20 fix. You're good." But so yeah, a couple guys that are new to the unit, just past recon school, came, and they were there for that raid. So that actually should have been told with that raid because that was significant enough because that was these guys' first action with our platoon.
Oh yeah. But even despite those guys, like you're not the barn boss of the crew, but
never,
all those guys, I mean, it definitely sets the stage for what's going on in the war at this point. That like you've got, despite all this nonsense that you've seen, like you're still not the most badass guy in this crew.
Not
like
even close.
Yeah.
Wow.
But did you feel a responsibility to bring these new guys, get them up to speed because you guys were going to go like into firefights with these new guys?
The nice thing about the recon community is these guys weren't coming to us like babies. I mean, they were good guys. I mean, especially Scott, my roommate. He's been in recon longer than I was. He was just new to the platoon.
Right.
So, and Scott's one of the guys running the Raider Battalion now. He's retiring soon. But
so you're getting guys with actual combat experience?
I couldn't tell you if they had combat experience. I'd probably not because it was still towards the beginning of the war.
Yeah.
But definitely training and time experience for sure. But combat experience, probably not.
So you didn't really feel that pressure that you had to take these guys and get them caught up to speed and they had already done. They already did workups prior to getting them.
A lot of them were better than me, and it wasn't my position. I mean, we all worked together. I mean, we have team leaders and assistants. Well, we didn't have assistant team leader, but somebody stepped up. John Boyd took over that role, but it never played out like that. No, I didn't have to take anybody under my wing. Absolutely not. They were just another one of the guys, and it was actually a pretty flawless.
Transition.
Transition.
Dynamic,
Yeah. It was very, very simple.
Cool. So, so this raid. Sorry to bring it back.
No, yeah. Let's talk about one of the bad ones again.
Yeah, fine. it's been a while since
Let's start with the worst raid you guys had while you were there.
Right. I think you've had enough time off the hook. Put him back on, Corey.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The missions I wanted to go over, though, I just kind of wanted to explain what they were and what we did. I mean, we already went over the raid. The observation one, that was, I mean, it is what it is. We would hide out, build our hides and far off of roads and watch for IEDs. watch for people putting in IEDs or any intel, mostly like an intel gathering thing. Those would be anywhere from 2 to 5 or 6 days, depending on what and where.
It was just intelligence gathering at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a classic recon mission, reconnaissance. I mean, that's the definition. So it's one of the longer, boring ones, but it's definitely important because, I mean, we took it very seriously because it kept the road safe. I mean, the grunts and all the supply routes are going down these roads. This isn't something it's not a bullshit mission. It's real, you know. We actually did get one guy planning an IED. I don't know what I was thinking. This is so bad. We got him, but the IED was still in the hole, so we had to call out the IED explosives guys to come blow it up. And we're still on our hide site. And I got this plan. We have a satellite phone for my team. I'm like, I'm going to call. I can't call my mom. She'll freak out. So I'm like, my buddy Mike will be upset. I'm like, I'm going to call Chris. I go to call Chris, and I'm trying to time it.
He's an idiot. He'll love this.
He'll get a kick out of it in the long run. It never worked out, but I tried to call him when they're going to blow up the IED, like a control blow. So I could be like, I got to go, bye, and hang up on him. The timing didn't work out.
By the look of Dan Schrader, he does not approve of this.
Not the most professional moment.
Number
in
one,
my
you're
career.
not supposed to be on any cellular devices. Number one.
We weren't very close.
There's
about 800
There's
yards
going to be
away.
right up in your bin after this.
We were about 800 yards away, and they were sending a robot up there. Take it
Yeah,
easy.
fuck you, Dan.
Not my most professional moment. I actually was never planning on telling that story. It just kind of popped in my head when we started talking about it.
Did it take them a long ass time to get out there?
Oh, it's brutal.
Awful,
I mean, we
right?
were probably about 4 or 5 hours, but
Yep.
we were there for
Does
the
the
long
Mar-
haul anyway. So
Just watching
Those
this
are
guy.
Navy guys, right? Or do the Marines have their own EOD guys?
drawing a blank. I think we do.
I thought like the Navy was mostly.
No, I bet
responsible
you it's
for
Navy.
You know what?
I-
for a
I'm-
fact
I
that
feel like-
Marines have their own EOD.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know who came for yours, but I know for a fact the Marines
Okay,
have their own.
I was gonna say I'm drawing a blank. I feel like I should have known this. So I know we had EOD attachments to like Force Recon teams, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank. Whether they must have been Marines then.
Okay, so you pretended to get blown up.
Nothing happened. The timing wasn't right. I hung up.
But it wasn't for lack of trying.
Right.
That's for goddamn sure. And so what's your setup on these observation missions? Like, how are you guys?
Okay.
lined up?
We had well, it depends where we were at the deployment. Early on, we had 6 guys. We ended up having 4 guys towards the end, but we'd have at least one sniper rifle. Everyone had an M4. Guys could carry their 45s on those missions if they wanted. Usually guys didn't. Not for those kinds of missions. Depending if it was in a building, we had the 50 cal Stasser sniper rifle, but we didn't use that entirely too much unless it was like a long observation post. We'd load up our packs, minimal food, mostly like snacks and stuff, and just heavy ammo.
Because you guys were very likely after this was done heading back to
Right,
base.
because we're in the middle at that. For those missions, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and you'll have a react force, but it could be 5 minutes, it could be 45 minutes. It all depends on where the mission is. So we went very heavy on ammo for those, and just kind of snacks and food and stuff like that. Enough stuff to cover us up. We'd carry an escape and evasion an E&E kit. That's if something like everything went to shit and we had to leave. We had to find something. It was like whether find the closest border, closest base, something like that.
We got
carry.
Dan.
Go ahead.
Did you guys have a 60 or a 240 Bravo?
240 Golf.
240 Golf,
Same gun.
okay.
We call them Golf. You
Golfs.
call them Bravo.
What about a 60 millimeter mortar?
No, we
Claymores,
didn't.
any
No,
of
we didn't carry. We had the 249 saw. You didn't carry the 240 Golf on those missions.
So Dan, did you ever go out with an E&E kit?
Oh yeah, yes.
So what
Everybody
what was in your E&E kit?
Was
Yeah, let's
ours
compare this.
Yeah, let's compare
Ours
this.
is fairly creative.
money?
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is, I mean, what we're looking at. for-
American money. Yeah.
And what did you have, Brian? Like,
American money. Regular survival kit, fire stuff, which you're not going to start a fire if you're trying to hide, but just survival stuff. The number one thing we had, we all had the, I'm going to say, so this is not politically correct, the Haji female dress.
Okay.
burqa.
Is it? Is it actually? I mean, you can call it whatever you want. It's a Haji dress, the female one, all black, where you just basically had, we just basically had the square kill box around the eyes. The
Breast implants. No, I don't know.
no, because it's a gown, it's a dress, so it covers everything. So you can go with your plates and you're in an M4 under there, and you won't even know.
Is it specific? Well, yeah, because it's only the women that wear the Sherpa, right?
The guys wear the dress, but it's just like a
right, just up to the neck, right? Like
the women are fully covered; it's just their eyes showing. Gotcha. So that's what we had that. If this is all extreme worst case scenario, we never had to use it, thank God. But we definitely had that. And I actually, now that it came up, it's kind of funny. I actually carried an American flag, which might be kind of counterproductive if you think about it.
Yeah, that's not going to get you.
But the reason was, and it actually turns into a fairly kind of cool story. I carried it after Nazaria with the friendly fire incident. So I could always be like,
fair.
hey, jag off, American.
You didn't think that they'd be like, look at that son of a bitch. He tore a flag off. So like,
that sneaky motherfucker.
I saw the same guy in Nazaria.
Oh, and I got his ass too.
So
not letting this guy
the
go
cool
a
thing about
second
that
time.
was, and it wasn't for years later, somehow the story came up, and I met a guy, fireman Pat McCauley. He's like real big into helping veterans and stuff, and the flag thing took off. It ended up flying in Marine One with the president. It flew over Ground Zero, multiple missions over Afghanistan and refueling missions. He's got a list. There's so many places this thing's been, this actual flag, just because I didn't realize what I was carrying at the time. This is just the life-saving equipment, you know. So it's pretty kind of cool. You know, I completely forgot about that. I should probably find out where that is.
Here's the biggest thing. Dan, how much money did you have in your E&E kit? What was the dollar amount worth getting you to safety? Do you recall?
I want to say 1,000.
Oh,
what about you?
Hundreds?
no, I say it couldn't have been 200 for us.
No kidding. That was
He's
it?
worth more than
We had a bounty.
Marines aren't worth that much.
We had a bounty on our heads
Yeah.
of like pictures of us with me and the dog and the guys with the beards, and we had
The dog, did that pinpoint you?
Yeah.
So we had Mo. We'll call him Mo. He was Egyptian. He's American, but he's Egyptian. He's from New York accent.
Yeah.
But he spoke Arabic. We were doing raids, and like I said, we were extremely successful. They knew who we were. We were the guys with the pistols because not everyone carries 45s on their hips for the raids. And we're sitting there getting ready to interrogate this guy, and he looks up, and Mo's talking to him in Arabic. And now Mo's a Marine. He's not like an interpreter attached. He's a Force Recon Marine.
He's dressed to the nines.
And the guy, perfect English, looks up. He goes, "Oh, you're the Egyptian."
Oh, that's not cool. That's not cool.
He was seeing red for sure, but that was also kind of cool too at the same time. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
you feel like
I'm him.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had we never heard like all of us, but definitely Mo. But I guess like the dog would definitely pinpoint you for sure.
Well, I mean, Dan pretty much said, like Waz said 6 inches, and Dan pretty much said 6 1/4. You know, like that's what just went down. So
he's worth $1,000. I'm worth $1.25.
That's
I
maybe
wanted
a
to
better analogy.
piggyback something on the flag thing that we had flags, and I actually gave mine after this last episode because you wore the Cubs hat. I had given mine to a guy named Andrew Berlin, who was part owner of the Cubs, and we told him to watch or to listen to this podcast specifically because of the Cubs and your connection with the Cubs hat.
What a crazy connection from a small world.
What a sweetheart you are, Daniel.
Maybe we'll get that flag flown at Wrigley Field.
Oh boy.
See what I did? See what I did there?
Oh, maybe some tickets. I mean, I don't know. I mean, apparently they have a great team coming up this year too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been watching.
Spending a lot of money, right?
So yeah. So outside observation, we what happened with this raid and with the Claymore?
Oh, that's that's one of the last missions we had.
Oh, you want to come back to it later on?
Yeah,
Circle back
yeah.
around?
It
Okay.
might screw me up on the timeline.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Can I ask them, how did you recover from the losses in the January 4th mission?
3rd, yeah.
Or January
So
3rd?
it's kind of strange because
Like mentally, you're talking.
So
Danny?
this happens. You get back to the fob. What happens? How do you get back on the horse?
So it's weird. At the time, like when Dave was killed in Fallujah, we're busy. We're in Fallujah. There's no stopping. I talked about the whole thing where I had to clean the weapon and everything, which is super hard. But Tom's was more difficult just because of the fact that we made it back to the tent now. We're back in Camp Fallujah in the tent, and it's over. Like, we're not going to the next building at this point. Now you have time to sit and think about it. And,
Downtime's a killer, huh?
Oh, brutal. And like I said, it was the difference. I already talked about the difference between Tom and Dave and everything like that. But so that's why Tom's was definitely harder for us, and the fact that we also had our gunner and our skipper going home. Our whole command element was going home. That was definitely tough. As far as handling it, it was kind of just, at the time, it was kind of kicking the can down the curb. Like, you just kind of avoid it at the time.
Who took over leadership at that point?
So we were. I can't explain how lucky we were. We had Ed was our gunny. That's who I kept calling Gunny in the story. He was going home. His best friend Al, who's also a gunny, was kind of just like, I don't even know what his role was with the platoon. He was a headquarters guy with Second Force, and he attached himself to our platoon because him and Ed were friends. Guy's a stud. We were absolutely okay. Like, no problem with him being there. So he took over, and it's like we never skipped a beat.
You don't think a phone call was made by, he's like, I'm on my way out. I would feel comfortable with you coming in.
No, he was with us the whole time.
Oh, he was?
Almost the whole time. So he was there for that raid. I mean, actually, now that you say it, he had just left before that raid. Al wasn't on that raid. So Al came back like a week later and just took over. Like I said, no hesitation whatsoever. He took over both the platoon commander and the platoon sergeant role.
So you guys really lucked out by...
Oh, I can't explain that enough. Like, having him there was absolutely huge.
What rank was he?
He was a gunny.
And he was the platoon commander and the platoon?
Because at the Hauser raid on January 3rd, my platoon commander was shot and my platoon sergeant, so they both went home.
Oh, shit.
So that's what we had for the rest of the deployment. They didn't replace an officer.
That's what I was just asking.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You don't need those guys anyways.
I was lucky because the skipper was awesome. Yeah. He was our captain was awesome.
Fredo, did you have bad leadership when you were going? Like, can you specifically recall like terrible leadership?
We can do an entire podcast on the terrible leadership that I had. Yeah.
Yeah. I was spoiled. I was really lucky. I mean, from even in the grunts, from company down, absolutely spoiled. But the weird thing is, they were all prior enlisted Recon Marines. I can't explain how lucky I was.
I'm pretty harsh when it comes to evaluating my leadership, though. Like, I expect a lot. And my squad leader was awesome, but our company commander and our first sergeant were shit until First Sergeant Rouse, already talked about, came, and he was amazing. And then he left because awesome guys don't stick around. They get promoted. And then the next guy that we deployed with, I was trying to think of his name, and I could not remember it. So I was thinking to myself, like, is it worse to be so shitty that people remember you, or to be so shitty that I don't remember you?
I think it's worse to be so shitty that you remember, that it sticks in your brain. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I don't even remember that he was so awful. I'm like,
So
just ejected him from my mind.
About like the bad leadership thing though, I never like kind of toss it to the side like the whole I got fucked thing, because it definitely makes you hold yourself to a higher standard for the future. You know, especially I mean, I'm not gonna speak for you, especially being a lieutenant now, which is awesome. I didn't even know that till we met last time. I imagine like how much did you learn from having bad leadership?
More from bad leadership than good.
Absolutely.
100%.
Thank you for your service, Alfred. It is fucking amazing how same thing, man. Like, I thought that I had a couple really great guys that I was like, oh, like this is a good guy. Like maybe not even in the fire service, like this guy's a great guy because this, and this guy's a great guy because this, and like. Yeah, the more I look back on things, I'm like, I don't like the way this guy I don't like the way the dickhead did this fucking thing. I'm like, it's fucking
You may
weird.
not like this, but you like that, but then the same thing with the other guy, and you take the two things you like. I mean, you learn so much from people.
Yeah.
I was thinking, too, about our company commander when we deployed. Captain, so what? You guys have captains, right? Same thing.
For company commanders?
Yeah, company commanders, right.
For the grunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was awful. But then I was thinking about him, and I'm like, how old could he have been? Like 28?
Right?
And like we
Think
were
about
in
that.
medic school
Think about that.
fucking off. No, seriously. And this guy was in charge of
Think about
200
that for a
people.
second. Put it in your perspective now.
Never been
Yep.
to war, just came out of, whatever college program and officer candidate school. Now you're with 200 guys that you have to keep alive. And he didn't, we didn't all make it.
Right.
And he was the same
fucking
age that
war.
I was
It's
when
war.
we were
Yeah.
in medic school, dicking off, working
Yep.
I was, again, really hard on him, but then I look back and I'm like, man,
So
holy fuck.
I was going to talk about that when we got to the Lincolnwood time about
Okay.
becoming the when I did the acting officer thing. But I absolutely relate to that. It's like
Yeah.
a big growing up issue there. Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Dan? Were you as lucky as was to get good leadership, or
Through
you came up snake eyes a couple times?
I have a lot longer career, and my time in the grunts, I can look back and say, again, really good, really bad, and I was lucky enough, I think, to have either a good PL, platoon leader, or a good platoon sergeant most of my time. And again, you learn more from the bad from the good. And I had somebody point that out to me. Now retired General Turner pointed out that you see what he did there. You see what he did there, traitor? Yes, sir. He goes, remind me if I ever get in that position, don't do that. Yes, sir.
I'm barely paying attention, but like you get it.
Yeah, at the time, because I was a 19-year-old dumb kid, I didn't
Right.
know. And then in my second time phenomenal. I was blessed to have really good leaders especially at a team level.
How big of a difference? I mean,
And
it's
you know
so
what, like
night and day.
and like on top of that, you're referencing. I'm not sure what those positions are outside of the military, but like it sounds like it's almost like a middle management role, right? Like the guys you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
It's a pretty good analogy. Yeah, pretty good comparison.
Yeah, and go back to the to our stupid middle management role. Like I feel like I do a good job when I detach the guys that are working with me from the guys that are above me telling me to do some maniac shit. Like if like that middle management role is so important, at least, obviously where I'm at right now, where it's like if I do a good job, like this guy just wants to do the right thing when no one's watching, and he's not even seeing what nonsense the guy way up top is telling me that I have to tell that guy to do. Like,
So I'm actually going to bring it up now instead
Yeah.
of waiting until Lincolnwood because it fits in perfectly here. When I was in Lincolnwood with the fire department with these guys,
and this is just for reference, Lincolnwood is the first real job you got pretty much out of the military, would you say? Or
no, I was a contract medic in Berwyn before that.
oh, were you? Okay,
Yeah, for a year, literally 1 day short of a year before I went to Lincolnwood.
sure.
I was too for a
Berwyn?
week. Yeah, I was there for a week.
Is that where Steve was too? Wasn't Steve
Yeah.
there?
I think Steve was. Yeah.
He was in
Or
he was
Cicero, one
Cicero.
of them.
Cicero.
Cicero, okay.
You know what? I think he was in. Doesn't matter. He was in both though. I think.
They came up with a position. It always kind of confused me. Called acting officer. It was an actual position. It wasn't just a guy that acted up. And it's just because they didn't want to make another lieutenant. And I ended up becoming the acting officer. I had super amount of hesitation. I had the if not you then who kind of talk and all that other stuff. But it was pretty quickly after I became the acting officer. And I don't want to dive too much into this because we'll get to the Lincolnwood thing later. I realized the position I was in and the position I was in before when I wasn't the acting officer. And I actually went to a guy that I did not get along with, one of the other acting officers from the other shifts. We did not like each other. There was no love lost.
Yeah.
And I went up to him and I apologized. And he was like, I think he was like, whoa, I did not expect that from you. I was kind of an aggressive guy
You
there.
fucking sweetheart.
Yeah, I was kind of, would you say I was kind of one of the aggressive ones?
Do you want to get into this now?
I would say so.
We'll get there. But anyway, I apologized to him, and he kind of taken back by it. And he's like, well, I don't understand what you mean. He goes, I never did anything to fuck you, but I also never did anything to help you. And I didn't learn that until I was actually in that leadership role. Remember, I wasn't a leader in the grunts. I switched over to Recon. I was a junior guy in Recon. Finished that deployment, and I got out. So I was never in that role. I never learned that lesson yet. So it was a big kind of kick in the ass for me. So that I thought it fit more now into. I didn't want to not say it later. I thought it fit into more what we're talking about. Same thing. Like I was spoiled with my leadership in the Marine Corps. Absolutely spoiled. But I can imagine having that second lieutenant with a bunch of asshole 18-year-old, 19-year-old grunt lance corporals. Like, you're not doing anything to help this fucking poor guy. You're just talking shit about him, you know? He doesn't stand a chance. It's a horrible position to be in, and it takes a very special person to be successful at it.
When you got back,
You got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
when you got back from your deployment, how long were you still in before you?
The second one?
Yeah, the second
Oh,
one. Yeah.
before I got out? Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus. A few months, probably about 4 or 5 months.
Okay. Were all the people that were where did you go back to?
Camp Lejeune, North
Okay.
Carolina.
Were the people in your platoon like new guys? Did a lot of people like ETS change to other units?
Is kind of a normally it would normally that would have happened, but what happened with us was it was right when Second Force was changing away from Marine Corps Command into Special Operations Command. So they changed it into
JSOC?
MSOB is what they called it.
Oh, I don't know what the hell that is.
So just so you know that I got a lot of comments about our last episode where people couldn't keep up with the acronyms.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
So if we get to one that you
Yeah,
guys
stop me, please.
So yeah, I was like, man, like I'll try to be conscious of.
They were changing
acronyms.
over to MSOB, Marine Special Operations Battalion. They were changing over to the Special Operations Command.
is that now JSOC, Joint Special Operations, or is it some other thing?
So all of that would fall under there in the Marines. I know you guys switched from Recon to what do they call it, Raiders now?
That was years later.
Years
yeah.
later. Okay. So
It went from MSOB, and then there was another one. Like, there was first MSOB, second MSOB, and then there was another one. Then they changed. It's the same thing, but then they changed it. Now they're called the Raider Battalion.
okay.
Yeah.
And then that would fall under Joint Special Operations Command, but that's one small piece of a larger puzzle.
Right. So the platoon was being built into that. So 4th Platoon, 2nd Force was the first. I think they called them Bravo Company, second MSOB, Marine Special Operations Battalion. So there was actually more guys coming in, and I was just kind of like, I'm just hanging out because I'm getting out in a few months.
So when I got back, everybody ETS'd or
which is
what the hell does that even stand for?
We have
End
an
time
EAS,
service?
end of active service.
End of active
Yeah.
service.
You get
When
out.
they get
You
out.
okay.
Or they went to some other unit,
Right.
you know, they left the state, whatever. So it was me and like one platoon sergeant that had been in combat. And so when like the captain or lieutenant would say something, they would all look at me and they're like, does that sound right? And I'm like, dude, you need to listen to this guy. Like, just because I got, you know, whatever, like he's still in charge. Like, don't look at me. So it was very, very awkward. Very awkward.
Yeah, and that's definitely a testament to going back to the other thing about Woz talking about, like command structure and like him even just going back and apologizing. Like, I mean, what a testament to how great of a guy this guy is. That like he, I mean, it takes a special kind of guy to be like, what a fucking dickhead I was, you know, and again at a relatively, you know, younger age to like get out of the job and be like, oh yeah, like I was kind of a prick.
Dan, how did you feel being an E7 and then what did you, specialist, sergeant? What did you make it to the second time?
No, I kept rank.
Oh, you did?
I kept rank.
Oh,
'Cause
shit, I thought you
went
lost all
from-
your rank.
I went from regular Army to the reserves, or actually National Guard, back to regular Army. So I never lost rank. I tried to go ROTC. I had a short time where I thought I was going to be an officer. I bounced everything around, but I never lost continuity.
Okay.
Is that where you finished off at E7?
Yes. I have I was E7 for a long time because of my little discharge incident.
Well, you know, for you guys listening, Brian actually stepped out for a second. So while Brian's out, let's have an opportunity. I know that I wanted to touch with this with you about the dogs.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, like you were pretty instrumental, like with like bringing like. Were you at the front line of bringing dogs into this, like the special forces and stuff like that? Like, how did that come about?
We had, well, the dog thing came about with Special Operations Command was experimenting and they saw the value of dogs. They didn't know how to properly employ them. So we started,
How does that even come up in combat? Like, you know, do you know like the beginning of when that like progressed? How did somebody just be like, you know what we should have dogs?
There was like a 21-year-old Dan trader walking around, and like he found a gerbil, and he trained him. Well, that's for the Dan trader.
That's
story.
I mean, this
classified.
was the era of the dog. I mean, in Iraq and Afghanistan, I mean, it was so. What's the word I'm looking for? I mean, I could use amazing, but it really, I mean, how
just instrumental.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How instrumental was the dog in Iraq and Afghanistan theater? It was.
And you were part of the group that was like experimenting with jumping out of planes with these dogs and doing all these things.
Don't you have a good story about the first time you jumped with a dog?
So we did. We were practicing on methods of entry with the dog. So trying to get him to fast rope and I had a high
Trying to get a dog to fast rope?
Yeah. So
Or you fast roping with a dog?
fast roping with the dog.
Okay, I was going to say.
He trained the dog to fast rope behind him.
So yeah, he wrapped his
The dog
paws.
would see how far Dan got, and if Dan made it far enough, the dog would follow
jump.
him.
I'm not going. I'm not going.
You just harness him underneath your legs, behind you on your butt, and you do your regular descent, and then you hit and you let go, and then you have an awkward couple seconds where you have to declip and release, and you're good.
Sure.
You ever land on? I mean, you could potentially land on your dog, right?
Yeah. You had to be cognizant of that. And I was never the first one out with
That's going to be the thing.
make sure the rope's long enough, make sure we're, stable platform, all that good stuff.
Did I ever tell you my jump school stories?
No.
So, remember I was doing the no smiling. We were tough Marines, Army school.
That's my thing. Yeah.
We couldn't like fail at anything. Where it's in Marines at an Army school. It's like it can't happen, And we were senior at the time. We were like corporals, and these were all Army privates going like you did, Ranger contracts, all this stuff.
Dude, it sounds silly, but that's a lot of pressure. I got to imagine, to be honest.
Yeah, but we were jagoffs, so it was fun, So we fucked with everybody.
I went through with Marines and SEALs, and there's always those guys, and they're always in so much better shape. There's so much. They're
prepared more,
Yeah.
So of course I hated jumping out of planes. I didn't like it. It was an insert for us. I didn't get off on it. Some guys do. I didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this tough Marine thing. I'm not smiling and everything. Well, the first jump, the sergeant airborne, the guy that runs it, was like, "Wow, get up here." I'm like, "Wait, what?" I'm in the back of the stack, and he's like, puts me in the front right by the door.
For continuity
I'm
with the
turning,
story, Woz is not
the
smiling during this, just so you guys know.
Facing out the door, and he's just looking at me, waiting for me to break character, because I haven't smiled yet. So finally, the light turns green. He's like, "Go!" I look at him and I crack a smile just for him, just to be a smart ass. And I go and I jump out. Now you're supposed to count to 5-1,000. If you're not under canopy,
This is a static jump?
yeah, that's what we're hooked in. You're not under canopy. You got to pull your reserve because you're gonna hit the ground. I mean, we were higher because it's training, but so I'm counting. No,
You do a whole process before.
yeah,
that. You don't
this
just play
is
your
3
reserve.
weeks.
Yeah.
The Army does 3. If it was a Marine Corps, it'd be jump day, tower day, or ground day,
ground
jump
day,
day, tower day.
jump
But the
day.
Army does 3 weeks. So if you're not on a canopy in 5 seconds, you're supposed to pull your reserve. So I go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000. Oh, what the fuck? And I'm under canopy. So it goes fine. I land. I land. I'm all smiles now. And I'm like, wait a minute. Lock it up. No smile. Fast forward to the jump 5, the last jump. It's the night combat jump. Now I'm paranoid about somebody else coming underneath me, steal my
Steal
air.
your air.
You drop a little faster.
Oh, yeah.
So you're supposed to drop. You're supposed to pull your little Velcro strap to drop your pack, so you don't land on it. 10, 15 feet. I don't know. So I'm under canopy. It's cold out. I don't see anybody. I'm paranoid. I'm looking, make sure nobody gets under me. I'm like, I've been up here a long time, man. I can't see the ground. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just gonna pull this thing. I pull the Velcro. I hear, doo, doo. I hear the pack hit the ground. I'm like, oh god! No preparation, no proper landing fall, nothing. Just bounce over myself, so I can imagine doing that.
Did you look at the horizon? And
I couldn't see anything.
You couldn't see anything.
Trying to look for parachutes coming underneath me. I was terrified. I hated it. So that was my.
Well, let's
just
get
thinking
back.
about jumping with a dog. Sorry,
Let's get back to how Dan landed on his dog.
Oh, so
Just
we
real
did-
quick, because this is just a teaser.
We did-
at the Dan Trader story.
we did what's called
possibly
successive-
the Dan and Ale podcast. Who knows? We'll see where it goes.
we did what's called successive approximation, where you first of all you just walk the dog up to the airplane and then walk him back. Good boy. Walk him up to the airplane with
makes
the
sense.
the
Yeah,
engines
sure.
running. Good
Yeah,
boy.
yeah.
And he was fine, no muzzle.
What was the name of your dog?
Remy.
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 Great story.
Actually, a Belgian Shepherd. Or, I'm sorry, Dutch Shepherd. There's actually a book written about him.
Yeah, let's say you got to, yeah.
Oh, are you shitting?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
And
we got
a TV show, right?
Yeah.
we got to put that out. So when
Well,
you're
I'll tell you
done,
what else too. That's leading into a really nice couch nickname for Vince is the Dutch Shepherd. I don't get to.
it's like a Dutch rudder.
And you get to be Remy.
Yeah, no, I'm Remy to Vince's Dutch Shepherd.
So we did this successive approximation with him, and he was fine. All the way up into the air, he was fine. He was good flying, and we got up into the door, and I was not leading the stack like Woz. I was never the first. Well, not in this case. I was not the first one out. And as soon as we went out the door and the prop blast hit him and that sensation, he turned around and sunk his teeth. Because he was right where my reserve was. Right into my inner thigh. And his eyes rolled back in his head and he howled all the way down.
and that's where I got going. You know, so like that's where boots really hit the ground and what's getting me.
Yeah. So I unclawed him and I said, this will never happen again. So after that, we jumped. I put a tennis ball in his mouth and a muzzle over that. And it worked fine. But that first one, man,
He's like, oh, no, not the tennis ball.
And it took a couple seconds to unwind him once we got to the ground.
Oh, I
and
bet.
You got to like, okay, it's a good boy.
And so was Remy a bomb detection dog?
He was dual purpose,
Yeah.
bite dog, bomb detection dog.
Okay.
And he was a monster.
Really?
Yeah, he was feared throughout Ruzgan province. He was known and feared.
How much was the bounty for Remy?
It was high.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'll dig up those posters, but we have posters of us. Like
Yeah,
wanting-
get those pictures so
that
that
should
we
be
can
framed.
we can post those up.
Yeah.
That would be cool as hell for people to see. Is Remy still
That's
around?
a tattoo for you.
No.
You could do a whole story on that. He was. I transferred him over to another handler, and then that handler allowed him to get in a dog fight, and he was mauled almost to death
With another military
Afghan
dog?
No, with an Afghan fighting dog.
Oh, no shit.
So it was.
When you say he allowed him to do that, like,
We shoot dogs.
yeah.
You would shoot a dog.
Yeah.
If another dog was coming, you'd shoot him. And he, for whatever reason, allowed him to get in this fight with this dog, and he killed the dog. And I know the guy who was the team leader of the team he was on. And he said there's a picture out there somewhere of the sun coming up over the mountains and Remy standing with two paws on top of this dead, big
man.
Afghan fighting dog. The sun coming up,
Jesus.
panting, all covered in sweat and blood. And,
Just the
Because there's
Rambo.
dogs running everywhere out there, right?
Yeah.
so
Was there?
Yeah.
Yeah, wild dogs.
Children without parents and fucking dogs.
We actually had two Vietnam era silenced 22s, like completely silenced, that we use
puppies.
almost specifically for dogs, for wild dogs, giving up our position and stuff like that.
So Remy got hurt, and I was already gone. I was out of country. I'd already PCS'd. And so there was no system in place to care for injured dogs. So he went back to a kennel somewhere and in some shelter in the States and was abandoned and stayed for almost a year. And then he had been adopted. So fast forward probably 4 or 5 years to Lincolnwood. And I'm sitting here on a morning somewhere messing around on my phone, and I find pictures of myself and the dog and some guy that had adopted him in Michigan. What the hell? Who is this? And I couldn't figure it out. So by the end of the morning, I was on the phone, and the first person I called is one of my buddies, and he said, "Man, fuck that, we're gonna go kidnap him back." You know,
Look at this fucking hillbilly. Fuck that, we're getting our dog back.
So you formulated Operation Remy.
Operation Rescue Remy, and then I called the guy that had the dog. He owned his name is Doug Davis. Doug and Pam Davis own a marina up in Michigan. I'm blocking on the place, northern Michigan. So we went up there to see him. We reunited with the dog. The Davises are wonderful people. They had adopted Remy.
Did they rescue him?
They rescued him. He was a Vietnam dog handler.
Jesus Christ.
No kidding.
He adopted this dog and loved this dog and treated him.
Did he know that this was a military dog?
He knew it was a military working dog, and he had found a little bit of background on him. So that's how he'd gotten pictures of Remy and I.
It's crazy.
But I had never heard about it. So we reunited. We all went out and reunited with him and the dog, and everybody was.
So when you first saw him, did Remy
crazy.
was it obvious that Remy recognized
Oh, yeah.
you?
Oh yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah.
Was it that stereotypical tearjerker video that's on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's video of this. It came out in a TV show. There was a TV show made about it. Saving Private K-9 with Arlie Army hosted the show. I got to meet
I remember
Arlie
you doing
Army.
this. I remember you doing all that.
So that's out there
man.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, we got to find it.
Saving Private K-9,
All right.
and we were show number 1.
Vin Diesel plays Dan Trader,
And he's too small.
and he's
Too small.
and he's still not the stature.
Looks like a little bitch.
yeah. Well,
No, it was fantastic to see him.
Oh,
and
how
I'd
special
seen
is
him
that?
A few
you
more
definitely
times.
started off with a story. I'm like, there's a fucking book written about this dog, and I'm like, God damn, fuck you, Dan. I want to talk to this dog right now.
You leave. Bring the dog in.
So he called me a few years ago, right around Christmas, and say, "Hey, you might want to come on up. It's looking bad." And I went up for. I
You
was
were
there
there?
when he passed. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That's awesome.
So it's a great full circle story for Remy.
Wow.
And Remy had a pretty successful career in the military, huh?
He had at one time he was the most successful. We were the most successful team in the military.
As far like what? How?
6 IEDs and 11 combat bites. Now there's people now and there's things now that have eclipsed that by far.
Right.
But at the time,
In 06, we were.
You guys were
leading
still
that charge.
experimenting and learning how to implement these dogs, right? So
Our team wrote what's called the TTPs, Tactics, Techniques, and Procedures. So the great Bobby Farmer, another one of my close friends,
I love that name.
he came out shotgun.
Yeah, Shotgun Bobby.
He, I don't know if we should.
No.
can't talk-
Yeah, no. Listen, I will
Moving
hear
on.
this story, but back to you, Waz.
Sorry.
No, it's a great story. I wanted to tell it, but it's probably
the name of the
inappropriate.
episode. Yeah. So, all right.
about
So
your dog.
yeah. I mean, thanks. I'd love to hear your Labrador story. Okay, but what about? Sorry, Dan. So, what about this hostage rescue retrieval?
Okay, so this is like the next couple missions is where we kind of segue into the mental issue kind of aspect of it. So this is where it gets kind of tough. One of the first bigger raids we did was a hostage rescue. It was I don't even remember who it was. It was I think it was an interrogator's family was taken.
Okay.
And we did the raid, and it was actually kind of funny. At the time, we were working with the SF guys, and we were absolutely successful with them. They had all the intel, but we had the guns. They only had like a 6-man team or something there. So they would be on scene dressed in clothes, like what's the term, indigenous, I don't know, whatever, indigenous clothes, and they would mark the
Can't
building.
say that. Just say that.
Well, I just marking the building for us, even though we knew, but it makes it more fluid, makes it better. And we'd hit the building, and we hit it completely successful, no shots fired or anything. It was like a 4-building compound, and the weirdest thing was there was like a fence around the entire compound, and sounds so weird. The fence was made of ammo cans, which is kind of a big red flag.
That's going to tip you off a little bit.
enough ammo cans to make a fence.
empty ammo cans, like filled with dirt and stuff, which I thought was really weird. But
It's weird to use this flower planter.
me and I think it was Damien make the gangway. I'll call it a gangway. I don't know what they call it there, and I turned left, and we see a enemy, whatever, guy on his like crouching down by this fence, this ammo can fence, and he's holding an AK. Now remember, this is very early on in the deployment, so I run up, I go run. He does no idea we're there. I go running up, and I just boot him right in the face, knock him out cold.
Just a bum rush.
Yeah.
That's your.
And tie him up, take the AK, everything. Whatever. We raid successful. We got all the hostages. Complete success. It was a great start to the deployment. Like, literally, it couldn't have been any better. You know,
This is setting you up for.
nobody got hurt.
You didn't want to shoot this guy because you didn't want to tip your hand at that point.
No, I'm getting to that. It's because it was early on in the deployment. So while we're debriefing on scene, we actually Mo's there, our Egyptian, our interpreter, and we can hear him yelling and arguing with each other. Who was on watch? Who let this happen? Who was on watch? The guy on watch was sleeping. Otherwise, we might have had a contact. The point of the story is one to talk about how we did a couple hostage rescues. The stages of the deployment. This is where it gets kind of difficult. Early on, I see this guy run up and boot him in the face. If I didn't do it, somebody else would have. Somebody else might have been a little bit more trigger happy. We absolutely would have been in the right. Just a no issue there whatsoever. Fast forward a month, I would have put 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, without hesitation. Fast forward 3 months, it would have been 4 to the chest. Fast forward another month, I would have shot him until he fell apart. Period. That's the way the deployment went. And that's where the mindset started going. I can't speak for the other guys. I know I struggled with stuff, and I didn't struggle with the killing part. I was absolutely comfortable with that. That's what we were there for. I just struggled in general. I couldn't even pinpoint what it was. It wasn't self-preservation. Yeah, if I had to put it towards something, it was more towards I got sick of seeing everybody else hurt. And it sounds like bullshit. Super easy for me to sit here and say this now. Like, I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about other people. I wasn't worried about them. I was just sick of dealing with it.
Yeah.
It sounds so
this
selfish.
Escalation in aggression was more indicative of your mental state than your ability to conduct the raid.
Right.
Okay.
And the weird thing was, at the time, it was so aggressive there, we were never wrong by doing that.
Right.
But it always bugged me. And I would assume we'll talk about it later, where's that guy now? That fucks me up. Like, I hope that guy's dead now. I should have shot him the first time I saw him. You know, he could have killed the Marine 5 months later. Who knows?
Well, his intentions were to kill somebody.
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple raids. I think we were too fast. Where guys, well, I know we were because they told us. They didn't even know. They thought they were getting robbed. They didn't know it was Americans. They thought it was the other assholes trying to steal their guns or whatever. So, but I don't care why, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where what started, I guess, the mental issues. But the hostages, I think we did 2 or 3 of them. Fairly insignificant because they were all successful with no contact, which is kind of good, especially with hostage
productive.
situations.
Yeah.
But it's always like a interpreter's family or something like that, which is good. I mean, they're helping us out. They put their lives, their whole families at risk.
Yeah.
They should. We should help them out.
Yeah. So we got it kind of seems like it leads into Ferristown, but the snatch mission where capture only.
Yeah. So it was a capture only mission. I wrote snatch just because I think that was a Vietnam term. It wasn't like a term we used.
We use that too.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, when I was attached to the SF guys, that's what they always called it.
So most of our missions were kill or capture. I'm sure the intel guys wanted us to capture, and we wanted to kill them. I mean, whatever. I mean, it played itself out. But this was specifically a capture this individual. So Ferristown.
Does that give you like a heightened sense of like going into it? It's like,
well, the significance about Ferristown was more so the location than the person.
Yeah, where is Ferristown?
Not horribly far from Fallujah, but it's out in the middle of nowhere. Excuse me. It absolutely scared the living shit out of me going there. And it was funny because it wasn't until about 2 years ago where I saw my whole platoon where we laughed when the skipper, I talked to him, he said, we always knew we were going into Ferristown because Waz would turn green. Because this place, it's like in the middle of nowhere, got a berm, a sand berm all the way around it with a ditch on the outside of it. And it's like, I'm guessing, maybe 8, like 2 or 3 story apartment buildings with an exterior staircase in the middle. Like Maywood has a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, concrete buildings or open staircase in the middle. You see them all over our country. But you're in the middle of nowhere. We can't get there without being seen. And our react is 45 minutes away. And we're going there with like 15, 18 guys at this point. It scared the shit out of me. I thought it was a horrible idea. I'm not the mission planner. I'm just one of the guys. Absolutely hated going there. Well, we did a couple raids there. I don't even know if we ever got anybody out of there. But the snatch mission came up, and it was a cell phone hit. So this is kind of a surreal, I hate the term surreal because it was very real. We're in that irrigation ditch, berm kind of thing all around, and there's like this 15, 20-foot bridge to go across it to get into the area.
But real's a good term. Like, I mean,
Very
this
real.
Is going
it was
down.
like middle of the night. we're all kind of hidden in these little areas. It's probably about 8 or 9 of us in that immediate area for the mission. And we get now we all have headphones and microphones. We all can talk to each other. It's not like the ground, so everyone can hear each other.
Are you using NVGs?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is night
NVG.
vision goggles.
Night vision goggles. Sorry.
No, you have to do that. I appreciate it. So we're all on night vision goggles, and we get confirmation that the guy's talking on the cell phone right now. And as we're doing this, you can see the guy walking on the bridge, kind of back and forth, talking on the cell phone. And we all have our PEC 2s. This is prior to. I don't know if it was posted prior for Fallujah. The PEC 2, the laser infrared, so you can see that. Now there's like 5 or 6 other guys there.
Only you can see it through your night vision.
You have to have night vision goggles to see it.
Okay.
So you see
And
like this little green line with a dot on somebody.
And that's coming from
Us, our weapons.
right.
PQ.
I was gonna say the rifleman of that platoon, or
Everybody.
okay.
Everybody that has a rifle.
Everyone would have, it's about a cigarette shaped or cigarette size, like a pack of cigarette size, and it would go on the top of your rifle.
Sure.
And it would shoot, it had white light, IR, and only if you had your night vision on could you see it. So it would illuminate everything like clear as day. And if you you lifted your knot off, your night observation device,
Black,
it'd be
you're in the
pitch
night.
black.
Yeah. So
Nope.
there's.
What kind of NVGs did you have? Like the big like spider?
We didn't have the fancy ones. No,
Did you have the one?
we had 2.
Oh, you had two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
We had-
is
So we had one that went over whatever eye you decided to put it on, so that you had that. Depth
We had some of those.
perception?
We had some of
You
those.
had
Yes.
some of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had some of those.
Got it.
And then we had some guys had 2 and 2. We didn't have the fancy FLIR thermal
Were those
stuff.
were those around?
I never had it.
No, I think
Okay.
that was after
That
us.
was like later then.
I think that was after us.
I had and PVS 2s and 4s.
Okay.
so are
we
these
might
some
have
pretty
4s.
are these some pretty bulky goggles you got going
Yeah,
on?
I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, not horrible, but they're not comfortable.
So a little
Sure.
battery in the back of your helmet,
Okay.
and then a wire leads to it, and then it weighs as much as a can of beer, about half a little can of beer, about
Okay.
the size of like a Red Bull bottle.
Okay.
Like think of like not a full can, but like a Red Bull.
Sure.
And it pops up and for daylight, and
Yeah.
it just pops back down.
That's a good comparison.
Okay, so pretty maneuverable
Yeah.
situation you got going on.
So
Was it?
we're all hidden in this ditch on either side of the bridge, and we're watching this guy. They're
And
telling
you
us,
got
this
eyes
is
on
the
this
target.
guy
He's on the cell
whole-
phone.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys, probably bodyguards, who knows, kind of standing around. So we coordinate who's got who. So we have the lasers, the PEC 2s, the dots on everybody. And we do the idea is to kill everybody but the target. So we do the countdown. We do 3, 2, 1, and we take them all out, and we go up there, kind of rush the area, go to grab the guy. But I just want to talk about that because that was one of the types of missions we did. That was the only one we did, but I thought it was significant enough because how much I hated Ferristown, and just a different type of mission that it was new to us. We never did another one. It just never. We would have. It just never came up.
What was the outcome of this mission? Okay.
We killed. We killed everybody.
Hilarious. So
I mean, I don't know who did it, but
right, yeah.
it was. I mean, it's confusing. I
Mission
mean,
accomplished. Yeah.
it's weird because it was super organized. It really was. I mean, you're literally standing there watching these guys, like these 4 or 5 guys are about to die. We're gonna grab this guy. Well, he might have ran across. We don't know. He might have ran
Sure.
across. Who knows what happened? But
We
did not come back with the target.
yeah, I did not. Yeah.
Did you have to come back with some sort of identification of the guy? You don't have to get
I don't
too
know.
specific.
I don't know. I don't
don't
know
know?
if we had to or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And yeah, like, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but like, we all like to bring it back to firefighting. Like, we all like to let's take a picture of each other in front of the engine.
Sure.
Or let's do this after the fire. And like, well, like we did a really good job, but like, if you guys like to, for as much as I'm sure people are like, oh, cool, they're laughing about this horrible thing. Like, if you guys didn't accomplish this mission, countless lives, were at stake. Like it was.
So we would never sit there and talk
Sure.
like that. But I can speak for myself. That's absolutely weighs on us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And again, like this is something where it's very easy to, like, criticize, like, what's going on. But, like, had you guys not done what you guys did, this is something where, countless lives were saved. Countless military members were saved. Countless, and again, I'm sure we could spitball on everything else that could have happened. Maybe can we? I know this is kind of
Hold on, can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, please.
Again, I can only speak from my own mindset. Everything I did, I felt like I was doing for the grunts. And a lot of that was because I came from the grunts. I wasn't the Recon baby. I didn't go right into Recon. And I'm okay with that. I realized the position. I think I hit this pretty hard with the Fallujah stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to beat a dead horse. But I am going to go back to a quick story in Fallujah that I forgot that ties in. So all these targets, to me, were to prevent grunts from dying, period.
All right, we're back from the break. We wanted to shout out to our sponsor. This episode of Chicago's Bravest Stories is actually brought to you by Rescue One CBD oil. Rescue One was kind enough to send out some CBD when they knew that you guys were going to have a second appearance here on the show. And they sent out their the regular Rescue One CBD oil that's 0.000% of THC. And you can get that when you go to rescue1cbd.com. And if you enter the promo code BRAVEST, you'll get 25% off all the products. So I know, Dan, that you're a big proponent of CBD oil. Like, what's your take on CBD?
I love it. It's worked wonders for me. I have a lot of aches and pains and little bumps and bruises from over the years. I use it like a pre-workout for muscles. I go on a run with it, and then I do at night. I do the droplets, and it helps me sleep. I have great dreams. I'm a big proponent of the CBD.
Yeah, and I've been using it ever since Rescue One sent us out some. And we were talking off the air before we got on the microphone that we've actually, with this podcast, so many people have come out. They've been looking for a product like this, but with the detectable amounts of THC that they were afraid to actually reach out and get the benefits of CBD oil. So when you have a CBD oil like Rescue One, which has 0.00% THC, now people can actually get the benefits of CBD. And for me, the sleep benefits has really been a game changer for me. The waking up in the middle of the night, if I turn in the middle of the night, I'm up, and that's just terrible. And like we were saying before the break, if I didn't believe in this product and it didn't work for me, talking about it right now, because if somebody wanted us to promote a cheap-ass Halligan bar or something like that and they couldn't get into a door, who are they going to talk to? They're going to get a hold of me and they're going to tell me, hey, why are you telling me to buy this shit-ass product? But this product is actually really good. I stand behind it, and they were kind enough to send some out for all the guests here today. And again, rescue1cbd.com. It's the number one, and enter BRAVEST for 25% off.
Now, is this all mail order? Are they in brick and mortar stores?
This is going to be for us. This is all going to be online ordering. And we just had somebody, a friend of ours from another fire department, she ordered it, and it was immediate. Like, she got a text message saying, or email saying that it was already shipped out, like, within a couple hours.
Nice. So they're very responsive.
Super responsive. Like, she made a point to let me know that it was super responsive.
Now, these guys is the owner of this or whoever, are they on the job?
Yeah, this company is a firefighter-owned company. And that's, from my understanding, what prompted him to make this product.
So he knows guys on a job are going to have bumps and bruises and pains and
yeah,
all this.
If you look at the logo, you're going to get a good idea of
like a
what this is
joint
about.
Pain thing or a muscular pain?
Oh, I see what you did there, was.
This topical pain relief is like a roll-on. And it's got it smells like that eucalyptus smell to it. And it's just a topical cream. It's like a roll-on where if you had a pain in your elbow or something like that, you would just rub it on there.
You know what cupping is?
Yeah, we talked about that in the last episode.
Yeah, I do that with my wife. We'll sit and watch The Bachelor, and I'll do cupping on her neck and shoulders.
Did you like The Deaf Girl? Did you watch it?
Don't ruin it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Don't ruin it.
I've only seen it because somebody else. We only got one TV. Yeah, I don't. I'm not like into it.
I'm not judging, but all right.
All right, so
Don't you fucking high road him now. I'm not like into it. I just got.
It's on the TV.
so you guys have some products from Rescue One to take home with you. Thanks again, Rescue One, and
Thank you very much.
What's the pre-workout stuff you do? This stuff, the roll-on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to try the sleep.
yeah, that for me was the biggest benefit of the CBD oil. So, rescue1cbd.com, enter Bravis for 25% off. Okay, we're back from our break, back with Brian. And Corey, where'd we leave off?
So, I mean, if we're all ready for it, if Brian, you're good to go. I'd like to, if you're cool with that, I'd like to talk about Jimmy's raid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're there.
Anybody else need ice?
Thanks.
Does everyone else need ice?
Yeah, I think we're there. Yeah.
After I bust up Alfredo's cup.
Yeah.
We've covered a couple different things from Fallujah moving on, and we're gonna. It sounds kind of weird, but we're getting kind of like the dark stuff now. This is where I started kind of seeing the struggles come out in me, whether they're mental struggles or struggles I choose to reacted to. After cleaning off Dave's weapon, that's when it really kind of started. And I didn't. And this is all stuff I realized way after the fact. Just sitting by myself, kind of contemplating about the past and everything. I didn't realize how big of a significance that moment cleaning off Dave's weapon had on me. But the significance about Jimmy's raid was a couple different things. So I'm going to try and stay in order here and make sense of this whole thing. I don't even know what the mission was. It was a killer capture mission, but I don't know what the specifics were. We went to the target, and this happened 2 or 3 times. Same thing with Tom's raid. We hit the prayer room first. That kind of fucks us on the rest of the raid because we lose the element of surprise. The way it worked out was Jimmy ended up having rear security. He was one of the first guys in the prayer room, but he was one of the last guys getting ready to go into the main house because of the prayer room. I continued around the right side of the house down a little gangway, about maybe a 3-foot wide little gangway between houses. As I went down the gangway, I heard shots being fired. And I knew they were enemy rounds because they were automatic. Our M4s had the capability of being fully automatic, but we didn't operate that way.
So you had full auto, not 3-round burst?
We did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
All right.
safe, semi, and full auto.
I only had safe semi 3-round burst.
Yeah. The only time we would really use auto was if specific reason for it, or like an E&E where we want to make it look like there's way more guys than 6 guys. Yeah. So while I'm going down this gangway, we had rounds fired, and I kept moving. Nothing ever really happened with it. And this is where it gets really confusing. I made the left turn around the house in the backyard area. Nothing. Made the left turn around, and there's a doorway going in. I went into the doorway, and I'm by myself. We got kind of separated with the raid force. This is a smaller building, so I know they're not far away. So I just waited. I just stand there, and I held on the opening, little doorway to the next room. And while I'm doing that, I see a round hit the wall next to me, like not a ricochet, like an impact on the wall next to me. And I always questioned how I reacted because I never looked to the right to see who was shooting. I just kind of scooted forward to the next room and cleared the next room by myself, and nobody there. What ended up happening was, let me make sure I get the timeline right. As we all advanced into the house and around the gangway, Jimmy was disciplined enough to hold rear security. And what happened was three guys came running out from somewhere. I don't know where, because I was on they would be on, let's use fire department terms. They're on the Alpha side of the building. I'm on the Charlie side of the building. And there's three guys. Jimmy drops the first guy with 2 to the chest, scans to the second guy, 1 to the head. Absolutely 100% textbook. 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, right in the bridge of the nose. I mean, you couldn't have trained that better. But the problem was, the first one he killed was younger. He had 2 to the chest. The rounds, he was so close. He was within like 5 to 10 feet. The rounds were too fast and too small where they went through him, and the guy didn't realize he was dead yet. And as he fell, he let out a burst from his AK, and Jimmy got hit in the fat of his chin. And I believe he got hit on the drag strap on the back of his gear. I don't remember for sure, but I know the fat of the chin. But he was still disciplined enough to take out the second target, the dad, who was killed instantly with the face shot. But the younger kid made it around the corner, and he was, I didn't realize to the end, was firing at me. I was at the gangway. I didn't realize till there was empty casings in the gangway that he was firing at me. I don't know how it was missed. But those guys were the only place they could have gone from the building construction could have been into that gangway where I was. So the fact that Jimmy was disciplined enough to hold rear security, there's no doubt in my mind that that's why they didn't get to me, at least behind me, or advanced to some sort of fight, whether they got me from behind or we fought in the backyard or something. So that always weighed extremely heavy on me, the fact that he was disciplined enough to hold rear security, because it didn't always happen. It's a jack-off job. Nobody wants to do it. It's like I compare it to the hydrant, but even worse, in the fire service.
Like you're writ.
Super important. But you don't want to do it. But he was that professional and that disciplined enough to do it. And it absolutely convinced me that it saved my life. But it gets a little worse. It gets a little, this is, like I said, where I start to see my reaction to things. It turned out the 3 targets that ran out, Jimmy got 2 of them. One was the dad, one was the son, and the third one was the younger son. I don't know how old he was. I'm guessing 10, anywhere from 10 to 12. I don't even know who got him. I think he ended up being shot in the hand somehow. I don't know who hit him. I have no idea, but we had control of him. His dad and his brother are dead in the front. The raid's over. House is secured. We're doing the intel and the site exploitation and stuff. And I kind of, through talking to guys, figure out what happened. And I realized that this kid was coming after me, and I kind of, I saw red. I wasn't happy. So I grabbed this kid, and I throw him on top of his brother and his dad. And the interrogator we had, which we had another interrogator. We had an actual, Iraqi interrogator. I don't remember his name, with us. Pulled them off, and he was upset. And I got into a little skirmish with him. I kind of pushed him off the side. He's attached with us. He doesn't control what we do, or he does what he's told to do. So I grabbed he pulled the kid off. I put the kid back down. I was upset. I remember going up to my platoon sergeant, who was Ed at the time, the original guy, not Al when they switched over. And I remember asking him, how much do you think this kid knows? And Al's response, he looks at me really mad at me. He goes, everything. All right, well, that's over. All right. So I left it alone. I moved on, finished up with what we were doing or getting organized, getting ready to exfil and leave. And I never thought about it again. It wasn't until probably 10, that's probably 2004 or say 2014, maybe 12 years later. Sitting in my basement by myself, and it hit me. Ed was thinking, I was thinking about when I asked him how much you think this kid knows. And his response, I never thought, like I said, I never thought twice about it. And it just hit me like I think he thought I was talking about letting him go.
You were going to off him.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd saved his life by saying everything because he turned into an intelligence asset.
I think, I don't know. It just hit me. Like, honestly, I never thought about it again after that. Until some random day where it popped up literally out of nowhere. It wasn't like I was sitting there dwelling on the past or anything. I think he thought I wanted to let him go. Like, what the fuck? That was never known. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to take him in the backyard and put a couple in his face. That's a bit extreme, but I mean, that's just a professionalism of Ed and handling the situation better than I was. I mean, maybe he wasn't the one getting shot at for that particular raid, but I could, at the time, like I said, I didn't realize the progression of where my mind was going. And I'm not saying I was wrong. I'm not going to sit here and apologize for it either. I'm just stating a story here of what happened. I just realized the significance of it about around 12 years later. But the main thing I took from this raid wasn't my issues. It was about Jimmy holding rear security. So now I'm going to jump around here for a second and talk about lessons learned that I have, which I want to talk about later, but I'm going to talk about one right now.
Or some struggles, yeah.
About tactical discipline and how it absolutely transfers over to the fire service. The only reason, and there's no way anybody can convince me other, the only reason that I'm alive is because of two things. Our tactical discipline and the enemy's lack of tactical discipline. Let's go back to Fallujah when Dave was killed. I saw Dave get hit. He went down. I froze. Like I already addressed this whole thing. I for some reason, my body made a decision to just go limp and fall down like I was dead. I guess it ended up being a good decision in the long run, but definitely not the right decision. I could feel the rounds going all around me. I've already told the story, so I don't want to sit here and tell the story twice, but anybody that has any marksmanship training knows about sight alignment, sight picture, all this stuff. What happens when you focus on the target and not your front sight tip? You shoot everywhere but the target. You guys are shaking your head? Yep.
Do you know what he's talking about?
And I mean, my mom will sit there. I've told my mom most of these stories, maybe not in such detail. She's going to hear them now. But she's got this, I appreciate it. I don't judge people, but she's got this great theory that my grandma or my grandpa's there protecting me. And to each his own. I'm not going to judge anybody for their beliefs, whatever. It's funny. Whatever makes her accept it. But to me, that's a fact. The lack of enemy discipline, tactical discipline, the fact that he wasn't disciplined enough to focus on his front sight post instead of me is the only reason I'm alive, and nobody will ever convince me otherwise. Fast forward to the raid I was just talking about with Jimmy, the fact that Jimmy was absolutely disciplined is the only reason the three targets didn't come around to the back where I was by myself. Pure coincidence is the only reason why I'm alive from that raid, or at least significant issue in the back of the house.
Was he actually rear security in that stack when you guys conducted the raid?
No, Jimmy. Funny thing about Jimmy was he was one of those guys that was always at the front of the stack.
Okay.
He was Jimmy.
So how did he wind up in that position?
Because we hit the prayer room. The way I explained it in Tom's raid, where it's a attached room, but you can't get to the rest of the house. It's only an exterior access.
Okay.
So by doing that, you just kind of the flow worked out that way, where he was left last instead of first.
Because he went in, now you got to reverse out, so that
Exactly.
puts him in the back.
Right. It's just the way it flowed. It's just
Okay.
Is it like a detached garage almost?
There's like an attached garage that you can't get
But
into
it's
the house
walled
with.
off.
Yeah.
Okay,
But you
got
can't
it.
get in the house with it.
Right. Okay.
That'd be a good comparison.
Yeah.
Attached garage with no entrance to the house.
No entrance
Yeah.
into the house. Got it.
But with only a man door to get to it.
Yeah.
So tactical discipline, I mean, that was absolutely ingrained into me after that moment.
So what happened to Jimmy from that raid? You said that he sustained a wound.
He was shot in the fat of his chin, and like I said, I believe I'm not positive about the drag strap on the back of his gear. He was okay though. In fact, we went to the chow hall when we got back from the raid, and we're standing in line, and the cook goes, "Let me guess, I should see the other guy," because he had his chin bandaged up. Jimmy's like, "Well, first I shot the son in the chest, and I shot the dad in the face. Can I have more potatoes, please?" So yeah, Jimmy was okay, but discipline is amazing. I mean, I actually saved lives that day. No one will ever convince me of those two facts.
Yeah.
The fact that the enemy lacked discipline and that we had discipline. For
Well,
sure.
Going back to, you are fully convinced that there was some, divine intervention on your behalf.
I'm not.
You're not?
My mother was.
You're not. I mean, even with his lucky and his everything, that you still don't subscribe to that a little bit.
I don't. I'm not going to sit here and say none of it's true. I don't have one feeling one way or the other.
Well, because I wanted to ask,
I'm not the most religious guy in the
Dan and
world.
Fredo, have you been in that situation where you were convinced that there was something? Because you guys are here today, with as many holes as that you started with. So,
My dad, when I don't know if it was the same time, because it's 22nd, 23rd, whatever it was. When I got hurt, he says that he woke up in the middle of the night. My dad doesn't have nightmares. My dad isn't he doesn't sleep very good, but he doesn't have nightmares. He woke up in the middle of the night screaming and upset, and my mom was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And he's like, "I don't know. I just have a bad feeling that something fucking happened to
something in
Alf.
fact
they
did
call me Alf.
Yeah.
And it was the same
That's crazy.
time frame. Yeah, and that had happened to
Are they
him.
religious?
My parents are.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I believe in God, but
to each his
besides
own.
that,
Yeah,
I
whatever,
don't.
man. Yeah.
I'm not really religious, but same thing happened with him and his mom, my grandma. She was in a nursing home community in Florida. She passed away, and he woke up in the middle of the night or in the morning, whatever time it was that she passed away, and he was like, something is fucking wrong. And he got the call an hour later
Yeah.
that she had passed away.
What about you, Danny? Nothing.
Which
Nothing. at all.
I would venture to say that you might have grown up more religious than any of us, right? I mean, your family's pretty. Aren't your
parents
mom
are.
and dad? Yeah, your parents are really. Yeah.
My parents are. My mother still is, and I have that part of me. My belief system was wiped a long time ago.
Yeah.
Was that wiped
I want
because
to.
of your military service?
I get it.
or
but
before that? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with other people thinking that.
Yeah.
I wish I did. I believe in
Right.
I sent my kids to a Catholic school for a long time until the archdiocese. Well, that's a whole nother story. But they wanted some money and closed it down. But I believe in the teachings of it. I just me personally have a hard time believing in it. I don't judge other people for believing in it. I encourage other people to really believe in it. Believe in something. It makes no difference to me. But in my story, in the specific story we're telling here, there's no doubt in my mind. We're talking facts about marksmanship here. I mean, there's no other way that would have happened. The odds are worse than winning the lottery. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Did you feel pretty indestructible when you were out there?
No,
You didn't.
no.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. There was never a moment. This is going to sound intense, but it's not. When I went on my second deployment, I thought I was dying. I didn't. It was just the exception I made. I didn't have a reason.
Well, I think you got humbled early in your military career, so you didn't have...
Maybe that's why I just accepted it. I didn't. I mean, further on through my second deployment, it got to the point where I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like to rush. I didn't want to get hit. I didn't want to see other guys get hit. I had on Tom's raid, I had shrapnel in my legs, and afterwards, after Shep, I said the story when Shep did the line where he's like, "Remember, we're not all that different." It's one of my favorite stories to tell. I was talking to Matt Stevenson, who's unfortunately no longer with us either. My corpsman, I had shrapnel in my legs, and we were talking about. He goes, "Do you want me to put you in for a Purple Heart?" And I looked at him like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I'm like, "This is getting a little ridiculous." Right. He goes, "People are going to start to think you suck at this." Can we leave it alone? He's like, "I think that's a good idea."
Badge, right?
I'm not walking out of it with 4. 3's bad enough.
Enemy marksmanship badge. I like that one.
That's what some guys.
I actually don't even know how I segued into that, but it was. I'm just when it comes to that kind of stuff, there's math involved, there's physics involved. There's no divine intervention on a bullet. There's about the grains in the round. I mean, it doesn't. You don't.
What's that? It might be from a movie. A bullet never tells a lie. Some bullshit like that.
I believe it.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know where it comes from, but that's just the way I accept it. That's the way I accept it. It's the fact that they lacked marksmanship skills, and that specific incident I'm talking about is the only reason I'm alive, and there's no way anybody can ever make me think otherwise.
So let's take a step back. This was a father and his kids. And a father and his kids, to think that he didn't love his kids any more than we love ours
I don't doubt
is
that.
ridiculous. He loves them. They believe in what they're doing.
I
So
don't
it's
doubt
not
that.
a matter of belief system. It's not that they're afraid. He's bringing his kids into this fight.
And let me stop you for real quick, because I don't even remember what the raid was for. I believe it might have been for guns, like a shipment of guns. They might have thought we were robbing the fucking house. I don't know. I don't care at that point. That's not my job to care. Oh, that's kind of ignorant. I didn't care at that point. But yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. But I was seeing red. I wanted to kill him. He tried to kill me. I want to kill you. That's to me, it makes sense.
The skill level is what separates us from them.
I
It's
believe
not
so.
that they believe in their cause as much as we believe in ours. And the fact that he has his kids there. I mean, could you imagine being in a war zone with your kid?
No.
That-
I could not.
imagine. So,
I could not.
So he's putting his kid in harm's way to that extent. He believes in it. It's just the fact that he has no training, no tactical discipline, no fire discipline, that we're winning and they're losing.
Well,
And we have all the
Which
equipment tools.
actually segues me into, I mean, I think there might be more, but the training and the discipline carries into the rest of my life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's proved.
Yeah, I mean, we
for me
talked
at this
about
point,
that
it's
in
proved
the first
time
half.
and time again.
Yeah. But
The significance of training.
Yeah.
And that doesn't go away with me for the rest of my life. I'm not just, okay, I'm done with the military. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I absolutely took that into the fire service for sure.
Well, you when you were telling the story and you talked about how Jimmy put the rounds through the first guy and they went straight through, in the book Black Hawk Down, they talk about that the Rangers during Mogadishu, that was their big issue, was the rounds that they were using. At that time, they were doing the exact same thing. They were going through these guys, and it wasn't taking them out of the fight. And
So I have a theory about that. They didn't grow up watching Rambo. They don't realize it's supposed to go down when they're shot. You know what I mean? They don't realize that they're dead yet, so they're going to get off 20 seconds more of shooting. We have this weird culture, and this is absolutely my belief. This isn't the Marine Corps belief. This isn't Second Force Reconnaissance belief. for some reason, every training we do, we prepare as if we lose. There's always an injured. There's always an exfil. There's always E&E. We don't need to be training to lose. We need to be training to win. Now, we can separate training for dealing with injured, and we can separate training for E&E. But when we're doing raids, we need to train to win. And that's what I love, jump forward, about when I got a chance to teach for Illinois Fire Service Institute. You got the Written Under Fire. It's a class directly related to rescue on our own. But we're not doing that during engine operations or truck operations. We're learning engine operations and truck operations. Separate that. Don't train to lose. Train to win. They don't realize that they're dead yet. They don't realize that they're supposed to go down when they're shot. So that's where I got when I went back to that hostage rescue, where I kicked the guy the first time. I said a month later or whatever, I said to the chest, one to the head, and I progressed. Well, that's part of the reason of that. The knowledge of the deployment and knowledge of the theater and the enemy and everything. You grow with your tactics. That's just smart to me. I mean, we were advancing. It makes sense to me. It sounds a bit much to some people, I'm sure, but they're not in that theater operating.
Dan, we were using depleted uranium. What kind of rounds were we using? Where they were like kind of armor piercing or something? Because I had the same problem that you're talking about. Like, you put rounds through a guy and he's not fucking going down.
Depleted uranium was like the A10. Armor piercing was like the heavy machine guns.
There was something about our rounds. Okay.
The green tip 223.
Yeah.
It's too small, too fast.
Yeah. Okay.
We actually, our biggest after action reports from our entire deployment, which is pretty significant because of the amount of action we had in the brief period of time. This is all over 6 months. And I'm only talking about some of the certain ones. I mean, we were, like I said, we were extremely successful raids in between there. Were the size of the round and the speed of the round, which directly impacted guys being deployed with 308 versions of M4. I don't know what they called them anyway. I was already out by that time. Bigger rounds, bigger, slower rounds. Huge, significant change.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other one? There's two of them. Oh, and then the fact that when I was in Fallujah with Dave's incident, when my magazine got shot in my rifle, I had a double stacked mag there.
Yeah.
Where you press a button, one drops, you put the other in. It's
Yeah.
like an attachment.
Mm-hmm.
The round never made it through the second magazine. So after that, we started wearing double mags on our sides because that's where Tom was killed. Tom had his arms up, at the ready with the weapon.
Yeah.
And he got shot in the side.
Yeah.
Right through the heart. We started putting double stack mags on the side. It's not comfortable. It's bulky, but we didn't have side plates at the time. Now they have side plates and everything.
No, we didn't either. We had those front ones and the
but
back
that
ones.
directly related from my rifle getting shot. And then it actually, after I was already out, Rob Gilbert from 5th Platoon got deployed. And, he,
So you were back and he was over there.
Yeah, I was already out of the Marine Corps, and he got shot in the double stack magazine on his side. Like, holy fuck, it actually worked. I was proud of that.
Yeah.
That it came from something we did as a platoon. He was killed about a week later. But the fact that incident I thought that was pretty significant, pretty special,
Dan, when you were in Afghanistan, were they all fucked up on drugs? Was that right?
I had never dealt
Okay.
with any of that.
I remember hearing stories. I don't know if it was after however long, where
Were you still in, or was that after you got out?
it was after I was deployed, so I don't
okay.
remember if I was in the National Guard or if I was still active duty and
Sure.
not on deployment. But they were telling us that they were all fucked up on some sort of drug that kept them going.
Well,
Cat.
that was the that was
Is
the
that what it is?
in Mogadishu. That was
Same
the other
shit, yeah.
issue.
Or heroin, right?
In Afghanistan, it was heroin. They grow poppies, and they harvest the poppies, and hashish, which is marijuana. So they
Did
smoke
friendlies do it too?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I figured.
everybody does it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody's doing it.
Friendlies meaning
Yeah,
they're friendlies.
Right.
Everybody does it. Our Afghans, their Afghans, everybody does it.
Yeah.
I just remember the 5.56 is what I remember the designation of the round being. And yeah, they were going right through.
5.56 for military. Civilian version is 2.23. That's right. I said 2.23.
So it was always 5.56, and they were going right through guys, and they were not going down. So
we in Fallujah, we had a mortar team come out. We were on the roof, in windows and on the rooftop, and this 3-man mortar team comes out, and they start setting up like right in the backyard of this house. Where we're like, is this really happening right now? Are these guys retarded? What are they doing?
Right.
Didn't realize 2 of my guys shot the shit out of these guys, and they still got one of their mortars off. We're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, if you're, we've fought with patients that are fucked up on whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter how many guys you got and how much Versed you hit them with or whatever, they're still fucking fighting. And that reminded me of, like, I put 5 rounds through this fucking guy, and he's still coming at me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But that's kind of the significance I was talking about with Jimmy, with taking to be able to be that disciplined while that guy's shooting. He knows that guy's dead. Even though he's still shooting at you, he knows that guy's dead. Yeah. As crazy as that sounds. Yeah. And he's going to the other guy. And I'm telling you, textbook shot. It was beautiful. But
so is this toward the end of your career then? This raid with Jimmy?
We're almost there. Yeah, it's getting there. So
any struggles you're dealing with after?
Yeah, so actually that's perfect time actually. So after that I kind of really started struggling, and I can't put a name or a word to it.
While you're there.
Yeah, I'm still there. It wasn't a self-preservation. It wasn't worrying about the other guys. It was more or less like I just didn't want to do it anymore. As stupid as that sounds. I started getting real sick, and I started having this stomach pain. It sounds so stupid. And one of my buddies I talk to every once in a while, he always asks me, he's like, how's your belly ache,
How's your tum-tum?
But it was to the point where I would be in so much pain I couldn't even stand, and I was throwing up. Yeah. And I ended up later on in my life getting diagnosed with diverticulitis because of it. But at the time, we didn't know what the hell it was. Right. I was in Iraq. They were talking about sending me home. I'm like, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going home for a fucking stomach ache. Yeah. I'll figure this out. And I was just unhappy. I wasn't enjoying the deployment anymore, sitting by myself. We get our shipment of booze in. It was kind of funny. We'd have to trade with the SF guys. They could get the booze. Yes. And we can get the ammo. Yeah. So we would trade. We would trade a case of grenades, hand grenades, for a case of Heineken or Foster's. That's all we can get. It was Heineken and Foster's. Yeah. Like, how many fucking grenades do you guys throw? Sitting by myself, and I think the other guys, especially like Jimmy, Robert, and Scott, realized I was really struggling.
So you're kind of like self-isolating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you cognizant about what's going on with you right now, or is this all in retrospect that you look back and was like, man, I was fucked up? But in the moment, you have no idea that, because by all accounts, it sounds like you're knee deep in PTSD, right?
I imagine so. At the time, I can't sit here and say that I knew something was wrong at the time, but I was just like so angry. Like I couldn't get up for a raid, and then I couldn't get down after the raid. Like if we were doing a raid, I would sit there and I would listen to like the hardest music I can find, to the point where this is gonna sound so stupid. I was listening to like babies crying, glass breaking, shit that would make me mad, like over and over again. It sounds extreme, and then I would come back and I would listen. I remember like the softest music I could think of, like the Corrs, like some Irish female band. Like I would listen to it. Just I couldn't control it. I had a hard time with it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And I think it became obvious to other people, and that's something I definitely struggle with, because I didn't want them to think I was letting them down. And I don't think they think that, but there's always that thought, I guess, if that makes any sense, what I just said. And I remember Shep and Robert kind of called me out on it one time. And when I say called me out, like just checking up on me. We kind of brushed it off and everything. And they asked us, like, and I think this is directed towards me, and I don't know if I was the only one. I wasn't paying attention too much to the other people, and maybe shame on me for that, but they said if anybody's struggling with stuff, like, hey, take a break. It's okay. And so I'm like, well, fuck that. Like, I can't do that. Like, I'm just like admitting it, you know? So I did a couple more raids, and I was like, fuck this. And my head wasn't in it, and I felt like I was a hindrance more than an asset. And I always felt like I was one of the more aggressive ones. I was always towards the front. And so the fact that I wasn't there, I felt like I was leaving the other guys that were always at the front hanging. And so one day I went up and I asked, I was like, you know what? I think I need to
Take a duck.
Yeah, I'll do it. It fucking killed me. And I remember the look, and he was like, all right. I think it was like, to me, and it's just me making peace of it now, was like, fucking finally. Like, we were waiting for you to say that for a while.
All fucking time.
I honestly believe that it was meant towards me. I don't know if anybody else took them off on it. I never paid attention to it, and I don't know if they were paying attention to me. But
You said you had good leaders.
I did.
Do you think they were paying attention to you?
I know they were paying attention to me. I know they were.
And that look that you perceived is about fucking time. You finally, everybody else figured it out.
Yeah.
It's about time you figure it out.
Yeah. And I knew. I knew the whole time. I just kind of finally gave in. So they let me sit out a raid. And I sat out 2 raids. The first raid I sat out, not raid, it was a mission. It was different kind of mission. I'm not going to get into details, but I didn't even go on it. I sat in the tent by myself. I was sick. I couldn't even, I physically couldn't go on it. My stomach was messed up. I was throwing up. And it wasn't like a nerves feeling. It was just a sick feeling. It was like my stomach was on fire. And all of a sudden, towards the end of the night, I didn't turn on I didn't have the radio. I didn't know what the company was doing or the platoon was doing. And all of a sudden, I know where Kenny comes walking in the tent. They came back, and he throws his shit down and said, "Frank's going home." I was like, "Fuck."
The opinions and views are that of Chicago's Bravest Stories podcast and their guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any municipal governments, fire protection districts, fire departments, EMS, or law enforcement organizations.